Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and this video is titled Resolution in parentheses Modulation, Part 6. I want to begin with a quote from Alexander Graham Bell, and it states, "When one door closes, another door opens. But we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which opened for us." Defeat is nothing but education. It is the first step towards something better. And he summed it up nicely in regards to what I've been conveying about resolution. If an individual is not careful, irresolute resolution becomes the vocal point, and the obsession of failing or feeling like a failure can become consuming. That is the danger of beginning a resolution only on the sole premise of the brain and the heart emotion. I feel, I think, I feel, and starting off with pure raw emotions without a belief system, without a plan of action. And one can find themselves in a wistful state of being. And a wistful state is that regretful having or showing a feeling of just longing to complete our resolution, which is a firm decision to do something. And yesterday, part 5, I ended with irony in regards to Alexander Graham Bell, because he is the model that I'm going to use to expand on resolution. And as his quote stated, that when one door closes, another door is open. And irony is education, the first step towards something better. And so that's why I've been stating that a problem has answers just as many answers as a solution does. Solution is answers. Problems have answers also. We tend to separate them and stop at a quote unquote problem. And as Alexander Graham Bell said, that is the first step towards something better. So I said yesterday that the first thing that I learned from Alexander Graham Bell, that I gleaned from him, was the irony. And the reason I said that is because the resolution he sought that led him to patent the telephone was the science of sound, because he wanted to help his mother and others that were hearing impaired. He was seeking a way to transmit sound for the hearing impaired. So he realized that the change in the current was what transmitted the sound. And so there goes the modulation. So he's looking for a resolution initially to help his mother, his dearly beloved mother, and he ended up changing every generation from his generation onward with the telephone. Talk about irony. So we know Alexander Graham Bell as an inventor, a scientist, an engineer, but he was a son that loved his mother. And I'm here not to give a history lesson, but history holds answers in regards to modulation, to amplify, to give us the frequencies and the phases that we need to progress. We could learn from Alexander Graham Bell, and that's what we're doing right now. Another pertinent observation regarding resolution that I learned from Alexander Graham Bell is the capacity to be fluent, capable of just flowing. You see, with resolution, because it's so emotionally charged from the brain to the heart to the brain, that there is no room for fluency, for flowing, because it becomes an ultimate goal. So along the way, when there are irony, then we believe that is a problem. Irresoluted resolution. Another quote that Alexander Graham Bell stated, he said, "You cannot force ideas. Successful ideas are the result of slow growth." So to to compress a New Year's resolution, actually to compress a resolution within 2, 3, 4 months, because usually it starts to tape off by the 5th month, to compress it into just those months based on the emotions. That's where the disappointment and the fatigue starts to increase. But when we are fluent, flowing, having the capacity to flow, our resolution is slowly developing and growing as Alexander Graham Bell seek to find a device to help the hearing impaired. As I stated, he patented the telephone. So while he's also like opening school for so let me just say this again. So he opened the school, a speech, mechanics of speech, I believe is the name, in Boston. He, was focused on helping those that were unable to see, to hear, those that were dependent on others. He wanted to formulate a resolution that helped them to be more independent. Another gem that I found in just the history of Alexander Graham Bell, his life, was the ability to become unbounded. We could become so bound, so enmeshed with that emotion that is the primarily driving force, that we become frozen. We can't hear, we can't see. We have no connection with our psyche, with our belief system. And so we are bound by what's happening under our consciousness. And we say unconscious, but in other videos, and again, I say under consciousness, because it's still activated, it's still moving and flowing, and it still have life. So it's under consciousness. Alexander Graham Bell, the irony of the patent that he had for the telephone, he was so focused on the resolution for the hearing impaired that he was going to sell it. He was going to sell it to I believe he was the president of the Western Union at the time, because telegram was the thing in that day, right? So he was going to sell it, and he was going to sell it for, I think, like 100,000 or something along that line, or 1,000. But the owner, the president, didn't want it, right? Because with the president, he didn't see a need for it. But in 1 year, it went to $25 million. At that time, of course, Alexander Bell, he wasn't interested, right? So what I'm saying is our resolutions, when we become unbound, not tied into, not fixated on an emotional drive, and allow that slow growth, as Alexander Graham Bell stated, there is so much more to resolutions. But what he also taught me is that my passion, our passion is our passion. He did not have a telephone in his study because he feared that it would distract him from his scientific work. Again, so you don't lose the passion of your resolution, but there's also, that fluency, the ability, the capacity to flow. A resolution may be known by a specific group. Like I knew Alexander Graham Bell for the telephone, but I realized that with resolution and the expansion that one allows, like he was one of the original founders of National Geographic, again, but he never lost the drive to cure the deaf. How could we package our excellence in our resolutions, our innate nature to birth and to give this passion that we have internally, and just subject it to a year, 3 months, 6 months, and just give up on ourselves? That's why I use Alexander Graham Bell as a model system engineer, so we could take a look at our system internally and see how magnificent we are. There are so many parallels, and this series, the aim of this series is to have our brain and our heart emotion to parallel our psyche, dedication to our resolution, because our resolution can expand beyond not just our emotions, but beyond even what our intellect can see, can visualize. Alexander Graham Bell says the inventor looks upon the world and is not contented with things as they are. He wants to improve whatever he sees. He wants to benefit the world. He is haunted by an idea. The spirit of invention possesses him, seeking materialization. That's why there is a constant beginning, when the resolution going from 1 year to another year, tying the hope and aspiration to a new year. This is why it just doesn't go away. It's because it's seeking materialization. But we can't modulate if we're stuck in our own form of a jack. When as we talk about a telephone that only could be connected to a jack, that's a landline. It cannot expand, it cannot reach any further. In so many belief systems, it is held within a certain spot inside a hole, and we can't move beyond that access. However, in our next video, we're going to meet Jesse Eugene Russell, and he's going to help us to see modulation in our century as an inventor. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. It's all about you and it's all about me. Resolution. We're making a firm decision by incorporating our total being. Thank you for listening.